All right, well, we've all had roommates at one time or another, and of course, maybe you share to buy the food, or maybe you buy your own food, and then somehow that leads to a fight. And so, how do you solve some of that stuff before it starts?
Roommates never fight, never. Well, our etiquette consultant...
What world you live in, but...
Being sarcastic. Our etiquette consultant, Susan Feuille, is here tonight to break down the rules of being a good roommate and the rules you shouldn't break to be a bad roommate.
Right.
And we want to kind of start with, okay, so you're going to get a roommate. There's obviously some things you want to talk about beforehand. You can't just go into this blindly.
As a matter of fact, the first thing you need to do as potential roommates is you need to establish your rights and responsibilities right up front. You have to be very honest before you ever sign that lease. And that means, how are you going to handle your common areas of the apartment? How are you going to handle cleaning duties? And very importantly, the shared bill paying. How are you going to handle that? And you need to work all that out before you ever sign that lease.
Well, and that was one of the comments we got on Facebook from somebody that said that the roommates, she had 2 roommates, and 2 of them actually left, leaving her with the entire lease to pay for.
You know, that's really a problem, because if they all 3 signed it, it's a legally binding contract, and those other roommates are responsible if they move out for the rest of the lease. So she probably ought to get her attorney involved on this.
And while you want to be nice about that stuff, you really do have to look out for yourself, that if everybody should sign the lease, then you got to make sure your roommates sign the lease, because you want to protect yourself.
Oh, you have to. You have to.
All right, William in the chat room had asked that he had a roommate once that had a high-priced HD TV. He wanted his roommates to upgrade the cable so he can get a better picture, and then it apparently came with internet, but then he didn't share any of that with his roommates.
Yes, well, I think this is a person who doesn't share well with others. Probably got bad marks in school for that. And they need to sit down and have a serious talk about what is fair, you know, to all the roommates. Because if they're assuming the cost for the upgrading cable, they should be allowed to watch the TV. And he just imposed this. This is not a way to get along well with your roommates.
Yeah, William said he had to get his own internet.
Wow, okay. In the same apartment.
So,
wow,
this is a doomed roommate situation unless they, you know, intervene and have a serious talk. Good communication.
Well, and it seems like communication is probably one of the biggest underlying problems for roommates.
Oh, it is. And the potential for resentment and problems is tremendous if you do not have honest and really good communication.
You know, and you also need to be honest about your habits.
Oh, yes. And like, if one of you is a tidy person and the other person is a slob, you're going to have real problems if you can't communicate. After all, they once had a famous play and TV series called The Odd Couple, and its theme was just this problem, the neat Nick and the slob.
And you both have to give and take, so that if you have one or the other, you kind of have to agree on who's going to do the cleaning and how much and what's it going to be like.
Yeah, and that's another thing you should do before you sign the lease, is plan your cleaning schedule. You know, some people like to do it every other week. One roommate does it one week, one the next. And the whole idea is, if you share a bathroom, is you've got to be tidy. The grossest thing in the world is walking into the bathroom and seeing a dirty tub and your roommate's hair in the sink and tub. That is a real no-no.
Gross, gross, gross.
And so, you know, if you tidy up after yourself, your bathroom's never a mess. And this goes for marriages too.
Oh, that works.
Yeah.
Now, quickly, what are the rules on groceries?
Okay, well, a lot of people do it where they share the bills for the staples, and they each buy their own food. And other people will just take turns going grocery shopping or go with each other.
Okay.
But you just got to be careful not to eat each other's food.
And again, you want to work that out ahead of time. Don't go shopping and then, oh, you can't have that. If you thought you were going to share with everybody.
Right. And if you share staples like milk, then if you use it all up, you're the person that needs to go right out and get some more so the roommate has some milk.
It's always about being a good person whenever push comes to shove and making sure you communicate.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Treat others as you want them to treat you is what it really comes down to.
Yeah, and just respect each other's privacy, each other's property, and you'll get along a lot better.
All right. Well, it certainly sparked a lot of conversation on Facebook and in our chat room.
And we have a lot more tips still left on this, so Susan Feuille, thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Indeed.
You at home can watch this again, and we will post the rest of Susan's tips on how to be an A+ roommate and not make everybody so grumpy in the apartment. We'll have that posted on IllinoisHomepage.net later tonight underneath the news at 7. Up next, we're talking about Hardee's Reindeer Ranch and what's new out there in Rantoul this year.